Unexpected confrontation. Olivia Reed tugged at the hem of her navy blue dress, silently cursing the last-minute safety pin holding the side seam together. 20 minutes before Seattle's most prestigious art benefit, and her outfit was literally hanging by a thread. As the newest junior coordinator at Hammond Events, she couldn't afford another mistake, especially after her boss Natalie had fallen ill and thrust her into the spotlight. "Everything is fine," she whispered to herself, surveying the transformed gallery space. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over meticulously arranged auction items paintings, sculptures, and other treasures donated to benefit children's art education. Waitstaff in crisp black uniforms weaved through early arrivals, offering champagne on silver trays. The guest list read like a who's who of Pacific Northwest wealth and influence. Everyone except the host himself, Julian Cross, the notoriously private tech innovator whose foundation funded the entire event. No one had seen him yet, and rumors swirled that he might not show at all. Olivia's earpiece crackled. "Olivia." Crisis in the kitchen, came the voice of her assistant Damon. "The vegetarian option is 20 portions short." She closed her eyes briefly. "I'll handle it," she replied, turning swiftly to swiftly. Her elbow collided with someone behind her, sending a tray of red wine glasses cascading down her dress. And across the pristine marble floor time seemed to slow. Crimson liquid bloomed across the navy fabric like a flowering wound. The safety pin gave way, exposing a small triangle of skin at her waist. Scattered gasps and murmurs from nearby guests reached her ears as her face burned with humiliation. "Are you kidding me?" she hissed, looking up at the perpetrator, a tall man in simple black attire, clearly part of the waitstaff. "Don't you watch where you're going? This entire event is hanging by a thread, and now so is my dress." The man blinked, his expression unreadable. Had striking features, sharp cheekbones, intelligent eyes, and salt and pepper hair, despite appearing only in his mid-30s. Something about him seemed distinctly out of place, but Olivia was too flustered to notice. "I'm terribly sorry," he said quietly, his voice carrying an unexpected gravitas. "Sorry doesn't fix this," Olivia continued, her anxiety spilling out as anger. "Do you know how important tonight is? The auction starts in 15 minutes, and now I look like I've been stabbed. Would you possibly be more careless?" A small audience had gathered, including Penelope Wright, a board member whose approval Olivia desperately needed. The woman's eyebrows arched in judgment. The man stooped to collect broken glass, his movements deliberate. "Let me help you," he offered. "Just go find someone to clean this properly," Olivia said, attempting to regain composure. "I need to change." He nodded once, standing with strange dignity for someone who'd just been dressed down publicly. "Again, my apologies," he said, then walked away in the staff bathroom. Olivia dabbed furiously at the stain with a wet paper towel. Her reflection revealed mascara-smudged eyes and flushed cheeks. "Pull yourself together," she muttered. Her phone buzzed with a message from Damon. "Where are you? Speech is starting soon. Also, did you seriously just yell at a man in black? Get back here now." With a resigned sigh, she pinned her dress more securely and applied fresh makeup. Whatever happened, now she'd face it with as much grace as possible. When she returned, the crowd had gathered near the small stage. The foundation's director was speaking. "Delighted to welcome our founder and visionary. A man who rarely appears in public, but whose generosity transforms thousands of young lives." Olivia froze as the man from earlier stepped onto the stage, now wearing an impeccably tailored jacket that replaced his previous simple attire. "Thank you all for coming," said Julian Cross, his eyes finding hers in the crowd. "Tonight is about seeing beyond surfaces to the potential within." Olivia's stomach dropped through the floor. She hadn't just yelled at a waiter, she'd publicly humiliated the billionaire hosting the entire event. New Beginnings, the proposal, took Olivia the entire weekend to perfect. She canceled brunch with friends, ignored her neglected apartment, and survived on delivery food while crafting what she considered her masterpiece, a comprehensive plan for. The Cross Foundation's education initiative launched that balanced sophistication with accessibility, just as Julian's welcome speech had emphasized. When Monday arrived, she hand-delivered the proposal to the Cross Foundations Downtown headquarters, a sleek glass building with surprisingly whimsical touches, including a lobby featuring a massive, kinetic sculpture of interconnected gears that children were encouraged to manipulate. Ms. Reed greeted the receptionist, a woman with vibrant teal-framed glasses. "Mr. Cross is expecting your proposal. Would you like to wait while he reviews it?" "He's reviewing it personally?" Now, Olivia hadn't anticipated an immediate response. 20 minutes of nervous waiting later, she was escorted to Julian's office, an unexpectedly cozy space dominated by bookshelves and illuminated by natural light from floor to ceiling windows. Julian sat not behind his imposing desk, but at a round table strewn with her proposal pages, sticky notes already adorning various sections. "Olivia," he stood as she entered. "Your work is exceptional." Relief flooded through her. "Thank you, Mr. Cross." "Julian, please." Gestured toward the chair across from him, particularly like. "Your suggestion to hold the launch at the Children's Museum after hours, with stations manned by student beneficiaries of our existing programs? It creates an emotional connection for donors," Olivia explained, finding her confidence, "and gives the students valuable experience." Their discussion flowed with unexpected ease, Julian building on her ideas rather than simply approving or rejecting them. By meeting's end, they had sketched a vision even more ambitious than her original proposal. "So," Julian said finally, "when can you start?" Olivia hesitated. "I'd need to give Hammond Events proper notice." 2 weeks then, he nodded. "Though I'd like you to attend some preliminary meetings in the meantime, if possible." What followed was the strangest transition period of Olivia's career. By day, she trained her replacement at Hammond Events, where rumors about her connection to Julian Cross had already spread like wildfire. By evening, she attended foundation meetings, where Julian consistently sought her input, treating her as a valued collaborator rather than a subordinate. Natalie Hammond, upon returning from sick leave, was surprisingly supportive. "The Cross Foundation rarely hires externally," she remarked during Olivia's exit interview. "This connection could be valuable for Hammond Events in the future." "It's strictly professional," Olivia insisted, though she couldn't deny the subtle electricity whenever Julian entered a room, or the way their conversations often stretched beyond work into shared interests in literature and environmental conservation. 2 days before the education initiative launched, disaster struck. The Children's Museum suffered a pipe burst, flooding the planned event space. Olivia received the call at 6 a.m. and was on site by 6:30. Assessing damage and making frantic calls to alternative venues. She was so absorbed in crisis management that she didn't notice Julian's arrival until he stood beside her, offering coffee. "Been calling everywhere," she said, accepting the cup gratefully. "Every suitable venue is booked." Julian watched her with that thoughtful expression she'd come to recognize. "What about my home?" "Your home?" Olivia blinked. Julian's residence was famously private or renovated historic. Property overlooking the Sound that had never been open to the public. It has the space. The gardens would be perfect for the outdoor activities and ... He paused. It would certainly create buzz for the initiative. The next 48 hours were a whirlwind of reworked plans and logistics. Olivia found herself working alongside Julian until midnight both nights, their professional relationship softening into something warmer as they solved problems together over takeout, dinners, and endless cups of coffee. On the night of the event, Olivia stood in Julian's spectacular garden, transformed with interactive art stations and performance spaces, watching donors and children alike engage with the foundation's vision. Julian appeared beside her, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. "You've accomplished the impossible," he said quietly. "We did," she corrected, hyper-aware of his proximity. As evening fell and the event concluded triumphantly, Julian found her supervising the cleanup. "Have dinner with me tomorrow," he said suddenly, not to discuss work. The directness of his request startled her. "People will talk." "They already are," he pointed out. "The question is whether we care more about that than about exploring whatever this is between us." Before she could answer, his assistant approached with an urgent call. Julian excused himself, leaving Olivia to contemplate a boundary she hadn't planned on crossing, and the undeniable truth that she very much wanted to. What she didn't see was the photographer from Seattle Society magazine, capturing her contemplative expression as she watched Julian walk away, a photo that would ignite a firestorm of speculation about the woman who had so quickly gained the reclusive billionaire's trust. Public scrutiny. The article appeared 3 days after their first official date, private dinner at a small Vietnamese restaurant Julian adored, where they'd talked for hours about everything except work. Olivia had just arrived at her office when her phone exploded with notifications. Cross's new catch, opportunist or genuine article, screamed the headline of Seattle Society's online edition, accompanied by the candid photo from the Education Initiative launch. The article detailed Olivia's meteoric rise from event coordinator to Julian's right-hand woman and rumored romantic interest, complete with anonymous sources questioning her qualifications and suggesting ulterior motives. Don't read that. Comments warned Vanessa Porter, Julian's longtime assistant, appearing in Olivia's doorway. Julian wants to see you. She found him in the foundation's conference room, expression thunderous as he scrolled through his tablet. I'm sorry about this, he said immediately. I should have warned you about the scrutiny. It's not your fault, Olivia replied, though her stomach churned at quotes from a former colleague, claiming she'd been angling for access to Julian from the moment she joined Hammond Events. We could issue a statement, Julian suggested. Clarify that your position was earned through merit. That would only validate the gossip. Olivia shook her head. The best response is to continue doing excellent work. Julian studied her with admiration. Most people would demand damage control. I'm not most people, she reminded him. Besides, this isn't the first time I've been underestimated. The professional resolve lasted until the Foundation's quarterly board meeting the following week. Olivia presented the Education Initiative's successful metrics, only to be interrupted by board member Terrence Whitaker. These results are impressive, he acknowledged, but I'm concerned about the Foundation's image given recent ... publicity. Perhaps Ms. Reed should step back from public-facing roles temporarily. The room fell silent. Julian's jaw tightened visibly. Personal relationships are irrelevant to Ms. Reed's qualifications, he stated coldly. Her work speaks for itself. Nevertheless, Whitaker pressed, perception matters. Donors talk. Then perhaps they should focus on our results rather than gossip, Olivia interjected, maintaining professional composure despite her racing heart. The Education Initiative exceeded fundraising targets by 32% under my direction. Tension in the room was palpable, but several board members nodded in agreement with her points. The meeting concluded without resolution, but Olivia felt the weight of increased scrutiny in every interaction afterward. That evening, Julian appeared at her apartment with takeout and a troubled expression. I never wanted my life to complicate. Yours, he said as they sat on her small balcony. The board situation will blow over, but this kind of scrutiny never entirely disappears. Are you having second thoughts? Olivia asked directly, suddenly fearful. About us? Never. Julian took her hand. About exposing you to this circus? Constantly? Their conversation was interrupted by a call from Vanessa. Julian listened intently, his expression darkening. I'll handle it, he said before hanging up. What's happened? Olivia asked. Hammond Events just lost the Westridge Foundation account, their biggest client. Apparently, Terrence Whitaker suggested they find representation without complicated connections to their board members. Olivia felt physically ill. Natalie supported my move to your foundation. Now her company is suffering because of me. Of Whitaker's pettiness, Julian corrected. This ends now. The next morning, Julian called an emergency board meeting without Olivia's knowledge. She learned about it only when Vanessa delivered a thick folder to her office. What's this? Olivia asked, opening it to find extensive documentation of her professional accomplishments, including glowing client testimonials from her Hammond Events days. Evidence, Vanessa explained with a small smile. Julian's making his case to the board as we speak. Meanwhile, across town, Natalie Hammond received an unexpected visitor, Julian himself, with a proposal that would not only restore the Westridge account but expand Hammond Events' client base significantly. By day's end, the Foundation's PR team had released a statement announcing an ambitious expansion of the Education Initiative under Olivia's leadership, effectively silencing questions. About her role, Julian returned to the office looking exhausted but satisfied. "You shouldn't have had to defend me," Olivia said when they were finally alone. "I didn't just defend you," Julian replied. "I defended us and the principle that talent deserves recognition regardless of personal connections." He hesitated. "But I've been thinking about something you said at the board meeting." "What's that?" "That your work speaks for itself," he smiled. "And I realized you need the freedom to let it do exactly that." Revelations and apologies. Olivia spent the remainder of Julian Cross's welcome speech in a state of numb horror. Each word from the philanthropist's mouth felt like another nail in her professional coffin. The wine stain on her dress had transformed from embarrassing mishap to career death certificate. ... And remember, true art teaches us to look beyond appearances, Julian concluded, his gaze sweeping the room but noticeably avoiding her corner. "Enjoy your evening." As applause filled the gallery, Olivia's mind raced through damage control scenarios. Should she approach him directly? Send a formal apology? Update her resume before morning? Damon materialized beside her, eyes wide. "Please tell me that wasn't who you demolished by the bar earlier." "Not now," Olivia whispered, forcing a professional smile as guests began circulating toward the auction displays. "Just help me keep everything running smoothly until this nightmare ends." For the next hour, Olivia threw herself into coordinating the silent auction with mechanical precision. She directed bidders, answered questions about artworks, and tracked donation tallies, all while hyper-aware of Julian Cross's location. In the room, he moved with surprising ease among guests, listening more than speaking, occasionally making notes in a small leather-bound book. "Ms. Red," a voice behind her made Olivia nearly jump out of her skin. She turned to find Penelope Wright, the board member who had witnessed her earlier outburst. "The Miyazaki sculpture has a question about display requirements." "Of course," Olivia nodded, grateful for any distraction, as she handled the inquiry. She felt rather than saw someone approach. The conversation around her quieted, and she turned to find Julian Cross standing beside her, 2 glasses of sparkling water in hand. "I thought you might prefer this to wine," he said, offering her one with the faintest hint of amusement in his eyes. The nearby guest pretended not to stare. Olivia accepted the glass with trembling fingers. "Mr. Cross, I cannot begin to express." He raised a hand. "Perhaps somewhere less crowded?" Minutes later, they stood on a small balcony overlooking the city's twinkling skyline. The cool evening air provided blessed relief from the stifling embarrassment inside. "Mr. Cross, I am profoundly sorry for my behavior earlier," Olivia began, the practiced apology tumbling out. "It was completely unprofessional and inexcusable. I've been under significant pressure stepping in for my supervisor." "But that's no justification for Olivia," he interrupted, surprising her with the use of her first name. "May I call you Olivia?" She nodded mutely. "I actually found your reaction refreshing," Julian said, leaning against the railing. "Do you know how many people have spoken to me with complete honesty in the past 5 years? I'm guessing not many." "Precisely none." He smiled, revealing a warmth she hadn't noticed before. "Everyone's too busy telling me what they think I want to hear." Olivia studied him properly for the first time. In the moonlight, Julian Cross appeared younger than his reputation suggested, perhaps 40 at most, with intelligent eyes that seemed to evaluate everything with quiet intensity. "Still, I should have controlled my temper," she admitted. "It was your event. I treated you like someone who'd made your already difficult night worse," he finished. "Which I did. The collision was as much my fault as yours." Unexpected laugh escaped her. "Are you always this understanding when someone publicly humiliates you?" "Only on Thursdays," he replied with surprising humor, though I admit it doesn't happen often. Their conversation was interrupted by Damon appearing at the balcony entrance. "Sorry to interrupt, but the auction closing announcement is in 5 minutes, and the auctioneer needs to know if you're making final remarks, Mr. Cross." Julian nodded. "I'll be right there." As Damon retreated, he turned back to Olivia. "Your assistant seems capable." "Damon's wonderful," she agreed. "I'd be drowning without him tonight." "And yet you're the one Natalie Hammond trusted to take her place," Julian observed, That says something significant about your abilities, wine incident notwithstanding. As they walked back inside, Julian paused. I've been looking for someone to coordinate my foundation's education initiative launch next month. Our previous event manager just relocated to Chicago. Olivia blinked in surprise. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you an opportunity. To submit a proposal, he clarified. Your work tonight before our collision showed attention to detail and creativity. The children's interactive display was particularly inspired. That was actually my concept, she admitted. I thought the donors should experience what their money would fund. Exactly the thinking we need, Julian nodded. Have your proposal. On my desk by Monday, my assistant will send details. Before she could respond, he was called away to close the auction. Olivia stood rooted to the spot, trying to process what had just happened. Instead of firing her or reporting her behavior to Hammond Events, Julian Cross had offered her a chance at something bigger. As the evening wound down and final tallies revealed a record-breaking fundraising total, Olivia supervised the cleanup. With renewed energy, the wine stain on her dress had dried into a dull purple shadow, a reminder of how quickly fortunes could change. So Damon sidled up beside her as the last guests departed. Are you going to tell me what happened on that balcony, or do I have to piece it together from the gossip already circulating? Olivia smiled, watching as Julian Cross slipped quietly out a side entrance, nodding once in her direction before disappearing into the night. Wait, let's just say she replied. Sometimes making the worst first impression leads to the most interesting second chances. Truth prevails. 6 months later, Olivia stood backstage at the Pacific Northwest Innovation Awards, nervously adjusting her earpiece. Not as an attendee or +1, but as the event director for her own company Red Creative Solutions. Had quickly established itself as a boutique event firm specializing in connecting philanthropic initiatives with their target audiences. Her phone buzzed with a message from Julian. Break a leg. I'll be there soon. Their relationship had evolved in unexpected ways since the tumultuous board meeting. Rather than allowing Julian to silence his critics through force of will, Olivia had made the difficult decision to step down from her foundation. Positioned not as a surrender to gossip, but as the first step toward proving herself independently. You don't have to do this, Julian had argued when she presented her resignation. I do, she'd insisted. Not because they're right about me, but because they'll never see who I really am as long as I'm under your protection. Julian had ultimately supported her decision, becoming her first client and investor while scrupulously maintaining an arm's-length professional relationship in public. Tonight marked the culmination of that strategy. Red Creative Solutions was nominated for Best Newcomer, and the Cross Foundation's revamped community outreach program, her final project before leaving, was up for the Community Impact Award. 2 minutes to the Community Impact announcement, her assistant Benedict whispered, appearing at her elbow. Julian just arrived to paparazzi frenzy at the entrance. Olivia nodded, watching from the wings as the presenter took the stage. For months, she and Julian had maintained a delicate balance, continuing their relationship privately while establishing clear professional boundaries. The strategy had worked. Interest in their scandal had gradually faded as Olivia's company built a reputation for excellence unconnected to Julian's influence. And the winner for Outstanding Community Impact is the Cross Foundation's Neighborhood Arts Initiative. Applause erupted as Julian approached the stage. Olivia held her breath. They had agreed he would accept without mentioning her if they won. To maintain the separation they'd worked so hard to establish, Julian adjusted the microphone, his expression serious. This award recognizes a program that transformed abandoned storefronts into community art spaces across 5 underserved neighborhoods, he began. While I'm accepting this honor, the vision wasn't mine. True innovation rarely comes from those with power, Julian continued. It comes from fresh perspectives that challenge established thinking. The Neighborhood Arts Initiative was the brainchild of Olivia Reed, who conceived it during her tenure at the foundation. Murmurs rippled through the audience. Backstage, Benedict shot Olivia a panicked look. Miss Reed left the foundation to build her own company, proving what I already knew, that her talent stands on its own merit, regardless of her connection to me. Julian's gaze found her in the wings. The rumors and speculation about our relationship. overlooked one fundamental truth. Exceptional people deserve recognition for their work, not their associations. He held up the award. This belongs to Olivia Reed's vision and to the foundation team who executed it brilliantly after her departure. Thank you.
Yeah.
As Julian exited the stage, Olivia met him in the side corridor, emotions warring on her face. We agreed you wouldn't mention me, she whispered urgently. Agreed not to leverage our relationship, he corrected. Denying you credit for your work isn't protection, it's erasure. Before she could respond, the presenter announced, and the winner for Breakthrough Organization of the Year is Reed Creative Solutions. The next moments passed in a blur as Olivia took the stage, accepted her award, and delivered her carefully prepared speech, thanking her team and clients. Only at the end did she add an unscripted line. And to those who questioned whether success can be earned rather than granted, the answer is standing before you. At the after-party, Olivia circulated among potential clients, her award generating significant interest. Julian kept a respectful distance, engaging with his own connections until the crowd thinned. They finally met on the venue's terrace, the city lights glittering below. I think Terrence Whitaker just offered me his company's annual gala, Olivia remarked, amused. Apparently my innovative approach impressed him. Success is the best revenge. Julian smiled, maintaining a professional distance despite his desire to embrace her. Though I still maintain you could have accomplished this while staying at the foundation, perhaps, she acknowledged. But I needed to know I could do it on my own terms. And now, Olivia said thoughtfully, I think we've both proven our points. Your foundation continues to thrive under new leadership. My company is establishing itself based on results, not connections. And those who speculated about us have moved on to fresher gossip. Julian considered this. So where does that leave us? I believe, Olivia said, finally allowing herself to step closer. It leaves us free to define our relationship on our terms, not theirs. Later that evening, they walked along the waterfront. Awards temporarily forgotten in Olivia's car as they discussed the future, not as business associates navigating public perception, but as two people who had weathered a storm together and emerged stronger. I've been thinking about the foundation's international expansion, Julian mentioned casually. Reed Creative Solutions might be the perfect partner for the European launch. Olivia laughed. Are you mixing business with pleasure? Mr. Cross. I'm recognizing talent where I find it, Ms. Reed, he countered, then added more seriously. But I promise to recuse myself from the selection committee. Good, she nodded, because I intend to submit a very competitive proposal. As they paused to watch a ferry crossing the moonlit sound, Julian reflected on their unconventional journey. You know, when you yelled at me that first night, I never imagined we'd end up here. Where exactly is here? Olivia asked. Julian considered the question, a place where mistakes lead to growth, where assumptions get challenged, where we're defined by our choices rather than others' perceptions. That sounds suspiciously like a mission statement, she teased. Perhaps he acknowledged with a smile. Or perhaps it's simply the truth about what happens when we look beyond surfaces to see the potential within. The distance, camera flashes indicated they'd been spotted by photographers, an inevitable reality of their public lives. But this time, neither moved away. Whatever tomorrow's headlines might claim, they knew the real story, one that had begun with a misunderstanding and transformed into something neither could have anticipated, but both now cherished. A partnership of equals, built on respect, tested by scrutiny, and ultimately strengthened by truth.